NVDA Max, a guide to using the Global Commands Extension. Episode 3, Managing Volumes.
Hello, this is David Griffith here again, and this is episode 3 of my series of podcasts on the NVDA Global Commands Extension. Today's episode is going to be looking at managing volumes and different ways in which you might need to or want to mute, and also recovering from accidental muting of the whole system. At the end, we'll look at the capacity of this add-on to manage the different audio sound cards. In the first episode, we looked at installing the add-on and finding it. Critically, I think, in terms of its usefulness, amending the default global layer keystroke through which you access the commands of this add-on from the default insert plus J to a more useful single key, and in our case we're using the graph key, the key above the tab key. Now what you might notice immediately is there may be a difference in sound quality between this recording and the previous recording that I've done. The reason for that is I'm doing this the old-fashioned way with a digital recorder with the speaker output coming from the computer. The reason why I'm doing that is that I've discovered that if I use the previous method of recording just from the sound card, you don't actually hear the volume changes. In fact, I could put the whole thing on mute and it would still make no difference to the volume that you hear during the podcast. Okay, just to reprise, I'm using Windows 10.
NVDA menu.
And I press the global key plus the A key.
NVDA Global Commands Extension Application Contexts Informations Dialog. Edit read-only multi-line application, var.exe, NVDA 2021.3.
We're using 10.3 of the Global Commands Extension add-on. Okay, so in this podcast...
Adjusting application volumes. Adjusting whole system speaker volumes. Using the application mute function. Getting out of trouble. Using the sound restore function to recover from accidental muting. Managing sound cards.
Now, what I should do is, again, remind you that you don't have to do feats of memory of the keystrokes that I'm going to be using in the podcast, because all the commands are easily available from the help menu, and that can be navigated by first letter navigation. So it would be to press the global key and then H for help.
NVDA Global Commands Extension Shells Scripts Dialog. Description, command list. Add to clipboard.
Right, so if I press D, for example.
D. Decrease volume of current focused application, down arrow.
Right, so if I wanted to decrease the volume of the current application, I could just do that sequence, and if I do that, it would remind me that all I have to do is press the down arrow. And if we cursor down...
Decrease volume of speakers, control plus down arrow.
So all the commands are available from this list. If I press I...
Increase volume of current focused application, up arrow. Adjusting application volumes.
Okay, so we're going to start with adjusting application volumes. Now, many applications that you will work with have easily available volume controls, but not all do. And so I picked an application where I think volume controls aren't obvious, with MP3 Direct Cut, an audio editing program, that if you want to adjust the volume that you hear in MP3 Direct Cut, the only option you've really got is to adjust the system volume or to go to the sound mixer and try and adjust the volume individually. It's a bit of a kerfuffle, to be honest. So what I'm going to do now is switch to MP3 Direct Cut to show how much easier it is to actually adjust the volume with this add-on. So we're in MP3 Direct Cut now, and if I press space, what we want to do is increase the volume for that, or indeed decrease the volume. And you hear it's a fairly quiet volume at the moment. So if I press the global key, you hear the beep. Now if I did press the up arrow,
volume 55%,
and the add-on announced that the volume's been increased to 55%. If I press the up arrow again,
volume 60%,
and it's going up by 5% at a time every time I press the up arrow.
volume 65%,
So it's getting slightly louder. Now you'll notice that I don't have to keep on pressing the global key. In fact, the global key has gone into like a sticky mode where everything now is to do with volume with the arrow keys. So, but there is in fact an easier way of going in bigger jumps in the application, and that is just to use the number row across the top of your keyboard. I'm going to press the 5 key.
volume 50%,
I'm going to press the 7 key.
volume 69%,
That sometimes happens. I don't know why that happens. Sometimes it's 1 or 2% off, but generally if I press the 4 key again,
volume 40%,
and then the 3 key,
volume 30%,
so you can quickly go through the different layers of volume simply by pressing numbers on the number row. But if you want to maximize the volume, then it's very simple. All you do is press the page up button.
volume 100%,
And if you want to minimize the volume to 0%, you press the page down button.
volume 0%,
So what would happen now, we've put the volume for the application on 0%, but as you will hear, your screen reader is still working perfectly happily in terms of the volume. Now what you have to remember is that because your volume controls are in a sticky mode, then you have to exit that sticky mode when you want to use other normal screen reader commands. So if I press escape, that the beep had meant you've left the NVDA Global Commands Extension, and you should now be able to just hear the volume from the NVDA screen reader.
Rodney Crowell, it ain't over yet, feet, rope.
So you can hear the title of a track we've been playing. So although it's muted MP3 direct cut, effectively because we put the volume down to 0%, you've not muted your screen reader. So if I press the grab key again, and press the 5 key,
volume 50%,
right, press the escape to get out of the volume mode, and now pressing space. For applications which don't have immediate and easy access to volume controls, like an application like MP3 Direct Cut, or perhaps Zoom and certainly some web pages, you might find this ability to adjust application volume very useful.
adjusting whole system speaker volumes.
The next thing that we're going to look at is the way this add-on enables you to adjust the whole system volume. This means it doesn't just affect system sounds, but it means that it adjusts the volume for the whole system. So it will adjust the volume not just for your application, but everything else which is playing on your system, including your screen reader. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to have two audio sources running. First of all, I'm going to have MP3 Direct Cut playing the music as before, but then I'm going to switch to a text document and start NVDA reading that text document, and then I'm going to adjust the whole speaker volume, and then you should hear both MP3 Direct Cut and NVDA reducing in volume. So first of all, I'm going to start Rodney singing again. And I'm going to maximize it by pressing the graph key, our global key, and page up.
Volume 100%.
Right, now we're going to go to our notepad document. I forgot to press the escape key. Anyway, there we go. Here we go back again to our notepad document.
We are all economists now.txt notepad. Text editor edit multi-line donut economics.
So we've got two volume sources. I'm going to press the graph key again, our global key. And this time press control down arrow.
Volume 95, volume 90, volume 85.
And I'm just pressing control down arrow.
Volume 80, volume 75, volume 70, volume 65, volume 60, volume 55, volume 50. Donut Economics sets out an optimistic vision of humanity's common future, a global economy that creates a thriving balance.
And I hope you can hear that the volume of both MP3 Direct Cut
Such an aspiration may
had
seem
been
foolish,
reduced.
even
MP3 Direct Cut,
the
I
crisis
just
of
stopped it talking. MP3 Direct Cut will come back in now because of audio ducking, but both volumes had been reduced. And again, if we press the global key, and if we press then control 5,
volume 50.
it sets all the system volume and MP3 volume, all the volumes across the computer to 50%. However, there is one important difference between the application volume and the system volume, particularly in relation to NVDA, and that is, although it's perfectly possible to put the volume up to 100%, if I press the graph key and then control page up,
volume 100.
It says volume 100, it put it on maximum. If I, however, press control page down to take it down to minimum, the add-on hasn't responded, and that is because it's seen as not safe in the add-on to take your volume for your screen reader down to nothing. So that function appears to be disabled. So just to reprise that, if you want to adjust your application volume for something like Zoom or MP3 Direct Cut, then you press the global key plus the up and down arrow keys, or you use the number row 5, 6, 7 or 8 or whatever you want to jump to 50, 60, 70%, what it may be, or use the page up and page down command to go to maximum or minimum volume. If you want to adjust the whole system-wide volume for everything, then you use the same thing, the global key, only this time it control arrow up, control arrow down, and then it control 4, 5, 6, 7 to go by the 10% increments, and you can go control page up to maximize the system volume, but you may not be able to go control page down to minimize to 0% system volume as a safety feature.
Using the application mute function.
So given that we use screen readers, which relies on spoken feedback, it might be puzzling that a ability to mute sound is a very important access feature. And one example may be that you're in a Zoom meeting and you need to take a phone call, so you need to just temporarily shut down all the sound coming out of the Zoom meeting, so you can mute yourself, but make sure so that you're not hearing anything to disturb your phone call. You can use the application mute function there while still retaining control of your screen reader. One of the most useful ways I found this function works really well is on the web, because there's nothing more annoying to me sometimes that even on a BBC Sound web page, when you go to a web page and the audio content starts playing automatically, and for someone who's hearing impaired like me, not being able to hear your screen reader because you've got some audio file playing can be a real problem. And this is particularly annoying if you're going to a newspaper or a website where they start playing an advert which is blaring at you, which again stops you reading the page when you're trying to use it with your screen reader. So in order to try and demonstrate how this can be useful from an access point of view, I'm going to go to a YouTube link and hope, surprisingly, that the advert plays. If it does, what I'm going to do is press the global key, our graph key, plus S for sound, which should just mute the sound of that advert, which should make navigating the page to find the skip ad button much easier for me, because normally I can't hear it if the advert is playing at the same time, even with audio ducking.
Loading page.
Right, that's not what I'm trying to hear, so I'm going to press
Volume off.
okay, and you'll see it says volume off because it's not the content I'm trying to hear. So what I'm going to do now,
Dialogue.
but I'm still able to navigate with my screen reader.
Banner landmark guide but skip navigation button. Search landmark search but search with your voice button. Create button. YouTube apps button. Notifications but account profile photo main landmark complimentary why this ad button. mytickets.co.uk book now button. Skip ads button.
So there's the skip ad button that I want. I'm going to press place on that.
Menu button submenu settings.
And then press the global key plus.
Volume on.
And we will now have the track which I'm trying to listen to, which is actually quite quiet. So I'm going to increase the volume.
Volume 100%.
And then quite an experimental jazz.
Getting out of trouble. Using the sound restore function to recover from accidental muting.
Now, one of the dreads that I have when using a computer, and you may have the same problem, is when somehow the computer gets muted and you have no way of recovering without sighted help. Now, luckily, within this add-on, you have a feature that will always get you out of that trouble. And to ensure that you have this set, you need to go into settings. So I'm going to bring up NVDA.
NVDA menu. Preferences submenu P.
I'm going to go to Preferences, then across.
Speech dictionaries, punctuation, input, jest, text nav, T, sentence nav, NVDA Global Commands Extension, submenu.
There it is. And then we go across.
Global settings, G.
And then we go to Global Settings, and then I'm just going to press G to go into Global Settings.
NVDA Global Commands Extension Settings dialog. Categories, list. Features is installation 1 of.
So we're going to go down to where it says Computer.
NVDA Enhancements 2 of 6, Computer 3 of 6.
That's the one that we want, and now we press Tab across.
NVDA Global Commands Extension Computer Property Page. Windows.
Right, I'm just going to tab down until we hear the sound.
Automatically max report Windows clocks top volume control grouping.
That's
Main
the one we want.
NVDA volume grouping. Set on volume at the loading of the add-on checkbox checked Alt plus V.
Okay, so it's saying that we want to have that volume control set on the loading of the add-on, which is what we do, and then we go down.
Main volume grouping. Threshold of recovery of the volume, combo box 10 collapsed Alt plus T.
And basically it's saying that if you go down below 10%, I think this is what it's saying with NVDA screen reader, it won't let you do it. It will maintain some volume for NVDA. So that's, if you're trying to change the volume within NVDA, and I think that's why when we tried to do control page down earlier, it wouldn't let us minimize the volume to nothing. So in any case, if you want to turn speech off with NVDA, you can do that easily just by pressing NVDA plus S, of course. So we go down further.
Recovery level, combo box 60 collapsed Alt plus L.
Now, I set that as 60. I don't think that's the default. I think it's probably 30, but the recovery level is what NVDA volume will be set at if something happens, which I'm going to try in a minute to demonstrate. So in other words, it will bring NVDA back up to that volume if you get into trouble with muting or some other problem with sound in the computer. I'm just going to tab through to OK now.
Recovery volume check report for announce apply temporary or maximum OK button.
Then press OK. Now, taking my life in my hands, what I'm going to do now is deliberately mute the system, which is something I'm always nervous about doing in case something goes wrong. But
start window, search window.
And I'm going
search
to type
edit
SNDVOL in order to bring up the main sound mixer for Windows.
SNDSVOL, run command, press right to switch preview 1 of 1 level 1.
Press enter.
Volume mixer dialog. Volume mixer speakers, Realtica, audio.
So this is the mixer. Normally you go across and be able to adjust all the volumes individually here, but actually it's normally much easier to do it from within this extension. But what I'm going to do is tab down.
Mute speakers toolbar, mute speakers button.
So that's the thing which I would normally avoid like the plague. And I'm going to mute the speakers. So now, if I press my keys on the keypad, I'm in trouble because I'm getting no feedback whatsoever. In fact, I'm also in trouble because even if I press the global command key, there's no sound. However, if I now press Control S, then hopefully
the main volume and that of NVDA are established and their level set to the 1 in the configuration.
So I think that's absolutely brilliant. For whatever reason, have your system muted by someone else who doesn't know what they're doing and have made your system inoperable, then all you do is load NVDA when you get your volume back anyway with this add-on installed. But if someone has left NVDA running and you're muted, then you just press the global key above the graph key and then Control S for sound.
The main volume and that of NVDA are established and their level set to the 1 in the configuration.
So that means that you're forevermore safe from anybody accidentally muting your system and making your screen reader unusable.
Managing sound cards.
Many people do have multiple sound cards in order to direct output to different sound cards for different reasons. And if you do have a setup like this, what this extension does, it provides an easy way for you to manage the output sound card on the fly. So I'm not going to execute it, but I can show it so you can get a sort of idea of how it works. So again, you would press the global key, the graph key, and just see the change sound card.
NVDA Global Commands Extension Temporary Audio Device Manager dialog. Select a device, list. Microsoft Sound Mapper checkbox not checked.
So this one has only got the default simple set of sound options available.
Speakers, Realtica, audio, checkbox not checked. Realtek digital output, Realtek checkbox not checked.
So if you wanted to change your sound device, then pressing the global key plus C will enable you to quickly do that. And I hope that that would work okay. I don't really use that function, so I can't comment on how useful it is for people, but it's there if people would want it. So I think that's enough to cover in this episode. If you want to make any comments on the podcast, then you can contact me as usual on D for David, A for Alan, J for John, DAJ.Griffith, spelled GRIFF for Freddie, ITH without an S, at gmail.com. So, until next time, bye-bye.